Griffin, Georgia, toxic water, part 5. I want to give you the update. Has to do with these 2 code enforcement violations. We've talked about it before. If you want to see the preceding videos on toxic water, this is part of a series. This is part 5. You're going to see part 6, 7, and 8 in the future. This is a fascinating story. If you want to know how you can help yourself at your little airport with your little local patrol boy problem at your airport, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, because there's a thing called FAA Part 16 formal complaint. I'm going to step you through that process because we're about to go down that path. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. But before I do that, I'm going to tell you that I did do a GoFundMe on this last go-around, and I'm going to give you the results of our May 18th trial in Griffin, Georgia. But before they do it, I want to thank these individuals who jumped in and helped with this GoFundMe, and those people are Dave Thompson, Nathan Balam, Larry Everly Sr., Chuck Williams, Thomas Schlecht, Charlie Tozier, Thomas Schlecht again, and William Warren. Those are just the big dollar donators. I had a ton of you people to help with much smaller donations. I raised $10,000 almost overnight towards this, which tells me there's some other people passionately interested in big government messing with little individual guys like me. And I'm going to show you exactly what we're doing here. What government does not want is to get their picture on TV, and that's what I'm doing here. If you can support me, I've got another fundraiser going on right now, another GoFundMe, because this is not getting smaller. This is fixing to get bigger, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. This has to do with an amazing concept that's even come out here, even more pronounced since this happened. I'm going to tell you the results of these 2 code tickets, which is we entirely won. I'm going to get to that in just a second. This has to do with racism. Remember, Griffin, Georgia is embedded deep in the South culture, the people and the culture of the South. This has to do with some early culture things from the South that are still left over today. The people, the culture, the management, the people of Griffin, Georgia are of this mindset. This has to do with some leftover bad things that have happened emanating all the way back from the Civil War. Now, let's talk about how this has to do with this. This new regional airport that they're wanting to build, upon information and belief, it is my opinion that the management and people having to do with running Griffin, Georgia, Spalding County, and this new airport have already taken it upon themselves to name the new airport the Greater Southern Crescent Regional Airport. The reason that they're doing that is because they do not want it to be named the Janet Bragg Airport. Who is Janet Bragg? Janet Bragg was a local person from Griffin, Georgia. She was a female African-American pilot, the very first female African-American to obtain a commercial pilot certificate. At all cost, it is my belief that the people and management and airport authority people do not want it to be named the Janet Bragg Airport. This is my opinion, but upon having talked to all the people and knowing the people down there and the type of people that are involved in all this, I think there's a tremendous effort, and I think paperwork has already been filed with the FAA in advance for moving the airport, placing the name Greater Southern Crescent Regional Airport on FAA application when it's not time to name the new airport yet. That's the name that's been put on there. Why? To give it a placehold so that the name is already reserved as Greater Crescent Southern Regional Airport instead of the Janet Bragg Memorial Airport or something like that. It's not time to name the airport, but these people have specifically gone that in order to make sure that it does not get named after Janet Bragg. It's just an indication of the culture that we're dealing with down here, and it's amazing to me. It's appalling, and there's that much of a concerted effort to prevent that from happening. I'm telling you exactly what happened next on this court thing. We went to trial. I want to thank my buddies at Aero Alliance in Florida. They brought a team, and they came up from Florida to Atlanta. They were here. They traveled and spent the night. They were here. My team from Allen Armstrong Law Firm built this motion to dismiss, and I'm going to tell you the 2 motions, and I'm going to give you the screenshot of here. The first ground for dismissal is procedural due process. That means that they never served me, they never told me, they never communicated with me in any way to give me some kind of a fair warning of what they wanted. So grounds for dismissal on that. And then the second ground is federal preemption, which means that they had no right to issue a code enforcement ticket on the basis of safety, which is not their concern. The airport authority doesn't have any safety basis. In order to do a safety study, the FAA is the only people that can make a safety determination. They have no preemption. They have no possibility of making a code enforcement violation on the basis of safety for having an airplane on the airport, and that's what they did. What happened in court that day? Well, they threw it out. They null process both of these, which means they threw it out. The reason, they had nothing to stand on, and we were standing there with briefcases, suitcases, pictures, diagrams, ready to testify, ready to place into evidence, ready to do everything. We did everything that we were supposed to be ready to present at trial. We walked in there, and in the first 10 seconds, they shut us down and said, there will be no trial. We don't want to hear this. This is null process, and please go away, and we're not hearing any portion of this. It's not over. Just because they null process these two, we still have the issue to come up here. And that's what I'm talking about. FAA Part 16, I'm going to show you on the screen here the difference between FAA Part 13 and Part 16. The difference is that Part 16 is a formal complaint, and it says that in order to do a Part 16 complaint, you have to, prior to filing a complaint under this part, a person directly and substantially affected by the alleged non-compliance shall initiate and engage in good faith efforts to resolve the disputed matter informally with those individuals or entities believed responsible for the non-compliance. We have to do that. We're fixing to do that. We're fixing to send a letter. We're fixing to ask these guys, and it's on the basis of this. I'm going to show you this letter as well. This is from Randall Peters. He's chairman of the Airport Authority, and it says, should you have any questions or require clarification, please feel free to contact me. Let me repeat that again. Should you have any questions or require clarification, please feel free to contact me. Well, we are contacting you. We do have questions, and we do need clarification. Now, the interesting thing above that is this letter was on March 30. On April 7, just a week later, here's another letter that came out from Randall Peters, and guess what this one says? The opening sentence on this says, due to a recent incident here at 6 Alpha 2, it has come to our attention that there may be activities and or storage of non-aviation related items inside and or around the hangars. Well, you think there might be some non-aviation storage in and around these hangars? Your airport director, Robert Mole, has not only allowed non-aviation aeronautical activity at this airport, he has solicited and encouraged it. These hangars are full of non-compliance. Take a look at my previous videos. We have tons of hangars with unrelated businesses and storage. It's an industrial wasteland. There's very few airplanes down there. It's full of boats, motorhomes, and businesses and unrelated stuff. They're completely illegal. And now they want to say it has come to our attention. It has not come to your attention. They've known the whole time. Even your airport city director already stated that she already knows all of that. This is going to be bloody. I'd like to record this because this is grants and assurances. Our airport is a federally funded airport. Mm-hmm. Is what this is. Mm-hmm. Your airport's not in compliance with grants and assurances.
We're aware of that. We're aware of that. We're aware of that.
Because of non-authorized hangar usage.
Okay.
And this bill is specifically for using federal money for airport usage. Your airport is not appropriating the usage of the airport properly. There's a lot of violations out there that Mr. Mole should be, as airport manager, should be aware of and should be on top of, and he's not.
He is, and the FAA and GDOT are also aware of them. And the FAA and GDOT are also aware of them. And the FAA and GDOT are also aware of them.
My name is Alan Armstrong. Today is Thursday, the 18th of May. I'm at the Griffin Spalding County Airport, which is 6 Alpha 2. We just come back from the municipal court of the city of Griffin, and charges are brought against Mr. Dan Grider. There are two charges. One is a citation CE 05115. This relates to a claim of a violation of Code 18-69 of the Griffin City Ordinances. They say the aircraft was parked in an unsafe location and failed to move despite warning from the airport authority. Well, that is an open question because I filed a motion to dismiss on the 15th day of this month, charging that this is a violation of due process because there was no warning prior to the issuance of the citation on February 22nd, 2023. They're claiming they sent the warning. We're claiming they did not. So far as I know, they have no proof of having sent the warning. So that was a problem for the city of Griffin in terms of a constitutional due process issue. So rather than litigate, they folded their tent. The second citation is citation 05154. This claims failure to relocate airplane to authorized location after warning from the airport authority. This citation suffers from the same defect as the first. There was no predicate warning prior to the issuance of the citation on February 22nd, 2023, received by Mr. Grider. Today in court, the city filed a response and then just null prost. Null prost is a fancy term for noli prosequi, which means that they're dismissing. And they're dismissing without prejudice. So if we, or if Dan comes here again, and if they feel like things haven't been satisfied to their requirements, they reserve the right to go through this little exercise all over again. That's pretty much where we are. I do want to point out, this is the area in dispute. Here's a white line that Dan has painted, a white stripe is painted for the purposes of moving his aircraft about. From what I can tell, from what I'm seeing right now, their complaint is of the proximity between Dan's aircraft and parked cars. Well, that's really kind of a silly argument because they have no business parking cars here. This is airport property for airport purposes. This is not a parking lot. So it appears, and I could be wrong, but it looks like they've made the problem for themselves as a predicate or a pretext for denying him access to a public use airport in violation of FAA Sponsored Grant Assurance 22A and 49 USC 47107A1. 47107A1 says you can have federal funding. You can have federal funding from the FAA and the DOT, but you must make the airport available to all categories and classes of aeronautical users without unjust discrimination. And if they're using parked cars as a pretext for keeping them off the airport, that would be unjust discrimination.
Well, we just got out of court. I'm Jacob Kaiser, partner in charge, Air Alliance Consulting. Partner and I flew up from Sarasota, Florida yesterday, be here with Dan and take a look at some of this stuff ourselves. And one thing I want to say before we get into the substance of the problems is visiting this and seeing it firsthand would shock just about any legitimate aeronautical user of any airport nationwide. The holes in the fence, the lack of fence, they don't take care of their easements, they don't take care of the pavement, toxic water, and this is a perceived safety issue. Well, the only safety issue that I see is cars being parked along an active ramp taxiway area right down there. So anyways, we just got out of court. The city of Griffin dismissed both of these citations, both in Dan's name. Alan Armstrong did a fantastic job arguing the facts, and quite frankly the judge didn't really want to hear what he had to say beyond that. So we're going to fight this. We're going to fight it for Dan. We're going to fight it for the rest of the aeronautical users that use this airport and every other airport across the country, and that's that.
So that's where we're at on that thing. I'm launching a fresh GoFundMe. It's not going to get smaller. It's going to get bigger. I'm going to show you step by step how we're doing it. I want you to be able to replicate it. I'm going to show a step-by-step video in parts. This is part 5. You're going to see part 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 unfold as they unfold. Check out my GoFundMe. Contribute as you're able to. We're going to fight this thing. This is not only just discrimination against Dan. This is discrimination against all users at the airport who are trying to use this airport rightfully. It takes the FAA. They won't come in and do their own investigation and figure out on their own. You have to file a formal complaint to get them off of dead center, to get them to do anything. You would think that's their job, that they would come in and figure this out on their own. No, not true. You have to do this FAA Part 16 formal complaint. You have to do it on the basis of already trying to work something out with them in advance. We're going to step through all that. We've got the attorney in Florida, the attorney in Atlanta, the engineering firm, and the consulting firm all putting this data together. We're going to show the FAA our Part 16 complaint is valid. Not only have they discriminated against me, I'm an airport user, they have discriminated against everyone else, and they're got their entire airport non-aeronautical use, and it's fixed to get interesting. So this is a short update video. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on next week. Part 6 and Part 7 are coming out. Next video, I'm going to show you the letter that we're sending to them, and it's going to put them squarely in their place on what their options are. I have no idea how they're going to respond or even if they're going to respond, but I'm going to publish all of it. I know the one thing for sure, what government, city government, and our local airport authority does not want. They don't want their picture on Dan's YouTube. And that's what's fixing to happen here. This is a fascinating story. I want you to be able to replicate this, and I want you to follow along as we go. Support the GoFundMe if you can, and I appreciate your support. For my tiny little itty-bitty fledgling YouTube channel, Dan Grider, problem caused. Ron designed this specifically for the DC-3. He's the one that actually designed this whole thing specifically for, if you look at the master plan, these buildings are set this distance apart to accommodate a DC-3. Isn't that ironic?
For Ron's DC-3, not your DC-3.
What difference does it make?
Because he paid for it, not you. Because he paid for it, not you.
Good morning, Griffin Airport. This is Robert.
Do you know what an aeronautical information manual is?